Welcome to this flip through and review of the Runic Tarot by Sephiroth. Allen Dempster, although I've seen another name associated with this online. I believe it was Chang Zhao. So I'm not sure who either of those people are, other than I think they've done some of the research on the runes. And Jaymi Elford, who is a fairly well-known, I believe, Llewellyn, but she's an author, a tarot author, and she's responsible for most of the meanings in the tarot expertise in the guidebook. The art is by Sephiroth. Amazing art, by the way. It's been released, I think it's distributed through Llewellyn, but it's Lo Scarabeo who has released it in July 2022. And I really wanted this deck because I've been reading runes for many, many years. And of course, I'm a tarot reader and tarot teacher. So I was excited about getting this deck. And because I wanted to give my impression of the deck, a bit of a review, so stick around for that after I flip through the cards. I played with it a little bit just so I could get a feel for them. Of course, the review is going to be based upon my own opinions and tastes, but it will give you an idea of what to expect from the Runic Tarot deck. So for the flip through, well, starting off, it's a beautiful magnetic box, and you can see it has a nice pictorial overlay of the runes. And if you don't know anything about runes, this could introduce you a little bit to what they are. And it's got, so the box is beautiful, beautifully put together. The artwork on the cover, everything. The book is very nice as well, with full colored, incredibly beautiful illustrations in it. And it's got superhero and fantasy world type Vikings in the artwork, which is really stunning. And another one of the main reasons I wanted this deck as well. At the beginning, it's got a brief blurb about tarot history and a quick overview of the runes. A couple of things that are different are the cups in this deck are named horns, and the pentacles, for the most part, are named shields. There are a couple of... The order in the book as well goes a bit differently as well. It goes from the usual of fire, water, air, and earth elements. If you're familiar with that, it goes... what did it do? It went water, earth, fire, and air. A couple of extra cards here, just little filler cards letting you know who made the deck, where it was produced. And starting off with the back of the cards, they're beautiful. The back is beautiful. I love the color, sort of a teal with a green and the Celtic knots. I'm just going to check. This is my first video with my resurrected YouTube channel and making an overhead type shot. So I just want to make sure the view's still looking good. As you can see, beautiful artwork and detail with this. It's really stunning. And yeah, the cardstock I like because it's not too thick and not too thin. That's the way I like it for shuffling and handling. If it's too thick, it can be tricky. It's sturdy, but it's tough to shuffle sometimes. And when it's too flimsy, that's no good either. It's on the thinner side, but not flimsy. It's nice. I like it. And a little bit of a semi-gloss, I would say. It's not too glossy, but it's not flat. It's a little bit glossy. So that helps, though, with the shine of the artwork, because there are a lot of kind of muted tones, kind of a muted sepia. I don't know if that's technically correct, but you see how you'll see as I flip through tones. So the little bit of the gloss helps all the different shadows and light and shadow to shine through a little better. And to full disclosure, I did play with this deck, as I said, and I'm very particular about the decks I purchase. These days, I don't even know if I'm in the target market for the majority of the decks that are being produced. I totally get it. It's where the demand is, and I love all the decks that are coming out. And I just pick the ones I resonate with. So that's why you're here too. You want to find out if you resonate with this deck, if it's going to work for you, and you will be able to connect with it. That's what really matters. And truthfully, I do have a lot of decks that I do connect with. I have a whole bookshelf beside me here full of decks. That's the only thing too, is to be aware of with these beautiful magnetic boxes. As beautiful as they are, they do take a lot of space up on your bookshelf. And I do have my main 2 or 3 decks that I actually work with out of all the decks I own, but I love the artwork. I love collecting and looking at the decks I have. How many does one need, really? So back to the Runic Tarot. Let's go through the flip through here. Oh, I reassembled the deck after playing with it, and so I'm going to go this way. So there's the Ace of Shields or Pentacles. And you see how it has a rune and another rune there. Fehu and Bjork. Rado. On the Two of Pentacles. As you can see, the artwork is really stunning. There are some cards that really jumped out at me as being particularly beautiful and definitely stimulating my imagination. But I'll talk more about those points at the end where I give a little bit of a review. Right now you can just look at these cards. You see they all have runes in them as well. These are the numbered cards in the Lesser Arcana of Shields, which is in a lot of decks called Pentacles, sometimes Coins. Although it does switch to the name Pentacles for the Court cards, interestingly enough. I'm not sure why. This is one card I really loved that I saw. The Ace of Swords. It's got some bind runes on it, which are runes joined together to form kind of a sigil. I just love the way it's in the clouds, piercing the clouds, going for that clarity, using the force of the mind to cut through the clouds for that mental clarity and insight, to triumph over the adversity. A very dramatic Three of Swords. If you know this card in other decks, it's often a heart with a sword through it. I'll go a little faster. I don't want to take too much more time on this video than necessary, although it will be a good solid long video, I think, showing all the cards and giving a bit of a review. Nine of Swords. He's Ten of Swords. Definitely looks dire. Looks like bind runes on all the court cards here. As I said, those are one or more runes put together. And then we've got the horns, which is the equivalent of the cups suit in a lot of traditional decks that you know. This is, of course, still a traditional tarot deck, 78 cards, 4 suits, the numbered cards, the court cards, the major or greater arcana, card of mutual attraction and love, spontaneous celebration, this card also stood out to me quite a bit as being quite a strong and powerful image to illustrate the meaning of this card of emotional disappointment and regret, feelings of loss. This would be in the hall of the Valhalla Hall, celebrating. If you know anything about Viking lore or rune lore. Again, it's cups now with the court cards as opposed to the horns with the numbered cards. I'm not sure why they did that. Now we're on to wands. That's a really interesting ace of wands. Definitely portrays the element of fire and the wand. And the initiation of things. Two of wands. This is the Five of Wands, but it almost reminds me, well, it does remind me quite a bit of the traditional Eight of Swords image on the Rider-Waite-Smith decks. Stick around for my review at the end, and I'll share my opinions and thoughts. Overall, though, I just love looking at the images. They can really take you on a journey. Ten of Wands. That's definitely Odin there. So it really resembles as well Merlin, the magician archetype, Hermes, Thoth, that type of energy. But it's a Ten of Wands. Now we're on to the major or greater arcana, Fool. And of course you've already noticed, I'm sure, that the cards are borderless, which is great with a deck like this where the artwork is so lush and spectacular. I really liked the Hierophant card for some reason as well. Something about it. It was very appealing. I like the two cats in the chariot, especially this cat here. Really looks like one of our cats, Phoebe. We have a black cat. We have two cats. One of them's a black cat named Phoebe. Looks with green eyes like that. I like this strength card a lot as well. It's got the rune Wonjo with it. The Hermit's really cool. I love that Hermit. And the rune here really makes sense with it too. Isa, which is ice, frozen, things being on hold, stalled, which makes sense with the Hermit in a certain way. Taking time to look within. And the Wheel of Fortune I like as well. The 3 Norns. The 3 Fates. Justice is interesting in this deck. If you do get the deck, you can read it in the book. It's related to a specific myth that actually makes a lot of sense with the Justice card. The Hangman, I was surprised it wasn't Odin. I was really surprised to see hung upside down from the World Tree for a long time to sacrifice in order to get the runes. Anyway, on to Death card. The Devil. Definitely, I didn't look up this one in the book, but it definitely looks like Loki. And Need, the rune. Nothies, some people call it. It's definitely being held back in some way. Restricted. Cool dragon. Love dragons. Another dragon. The moon. This one was interesting as well, with the lighter and the dark, and then the rose growing here. I did look this one up in the book quickly, because when I was first looking at the deck, before I played with it to do readings to see how I felt about it even more, I just did a couple of readings. I remember it was some kind of a myth again from Norse mythology, and I believe the light is protecting the rose. I thought this one was really cool as well. The giant Ymir. That's another character from Norse mythology. If you already know about that, I don't need to explain, but he's basically, there is a story about his bones and flesh being ground in a mill wheel to create the material world on a continuous basis, and other things with giants in Norse mythology that are interesting, but it's just a really cool image as well. So those are the cards, and now just a bit of my review, or my opinions on the cards. Actually, before that, let's do a little reading. I don't do the casino shuffling. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to do that. I do a different version. I just don't like doing that to my cards, and it seems too mechanical. So what I do is again, just checking the overhead, I go into 5 piles like this. When I want to clear my decks, this is what I do. And when I've reordered my decks, like I had done with this deck, in order to do the flip through, I then will do this to break them up again and reshuffle them and mix them up. So I just keep dealing out 5 piles, because this will make them completely mixed up and separated without possibly damaging them. And again, if you want to do the casino shuffling, that's fine. I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't. I don't think there are really any rules. It's more preferences and what works for you. So then what I do is I take the first pile, the the third pile, and the fifth pile, then the second pile, and then the fourth pile. And then I do some overhead shuffling. Again, with this, I don't like to go like really pushing them. I just more or less let them fall a little bit into place. I don't like to be too mechanical with the shuffling when it comes to tarot. Again, that's my preference. This part of the shuffling I learned from a gypsy, actually, many years ago. And the first technique where I broke it into 5 piles, I learned from a tarot author by the name of Josephine Ellershaw, who has the Easy Tarot out. She's an author on Llewellyn, and I studied with her one-on-one for a little while, many years ago now. And this is a way that she teaches, and I liked it, so I picked up on it. So positive guidance, what do we need to know? If you're watching this, this is for you, and remember to take what resonates only and ignore what doesn't. So I'm just going to select one card. Positive guidance, what do we need to know right now at this moment and whatever moment you're watching. I'm just going to do an easy deck like that. 10 of Wands. So protection, though. This is eel. The rune is protection. You have protection around you, and it looks like a lot of energy, although it's reversed as well. Merkstave, they call it when it's reversed. 10 of Wands is typically feeling burdened and carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders, a lot of work to do, feeling responsible for a lot of things, and you really have to push to get to the finish line with all that burden on your shoulders. But let's see what they say in here, in the guidebook. And as well, the other thing is, being number 10, it's at the end of the cycle. So it's coming to a new beginning. And that's what it says here, meanings. To every end, there is a beginning. In this case, the 10 of Wands is about releasing what you have done out into the world. Oh, that's different. Okay, cool. You spent time dreaming up this idea and worked with it to a logical conclusion. The only thing left is to let it go and see what happens once it's in someone else's hand. There is a sense of loss and control when you release it to another's care. However, it's time to move on to the next thing. Even Odin released his creations and watched them as they grew and changed through the ages. Keywords upright are release, turn your focus elsewhere, a job well done, knowing what you have created. This really makes sense for me anyway, because I've just recently revived my YouTube channel. It was lying kind of stagnant and dormant for a few years until recently I got the calling to bring it back to life, and that's what I'm doing now. Reversed, it's an inability to see the potential, a struggle, a giving up, oppression. So the bind rune is what you do on earth affects your afterlife. So that's interesting, because if you don't think there are consequences for your actions, regardless of what you do or don't believe about the afterlife, of course I believe in that continuity of certain stream of consciousness. Even though you're always changing and transforming, that certain stream continues after the physical body dissolves. I definitely believe in that. And what you do now does have meaning. Otherwise, what's the point? If I didn't believe that personally, I would just... Even people that don't believe in the afterlife, they must have some sense of meaning, that they want to make the world a better place, that type of thing. But it does influence everything in all time, because time is kind of an illusion. It is an illusion in the mind, and it's more like the past and the future, and all the different time frames are circling around into the present moment in a certain way that we can't really understand. I'm going to stop now on that, but that's the reading. So take it for what you want. It's about releasing your creations out into the world and letting go. Just letting go. Letting things go. You've done your work, now let it go. it's actually quite a positive reading in this deck. So now my review. So again, which I already said this earlier, why here's Odin here. I was surprised he wasn't the hangman. It's unusual. I was surprised about that because he did hang off the world tree for, I can't remember exactly how many days now, but quite a while, and took out his eye and speared himself in the side. He really sacrificed himself to reach into get the word, the runes. And some of the rune meanings, a couple of them seemed a bit off to me with the correspondences. I wasn't sure why certain runes were put with certain cards. Maybe if I think about it more, the answers will come. An example of that is the rune Hagalaz being put with the World card. And to me, the World card, maybe again, like this card, it has a slightly different meaning in this deck. The World card is a successful triumph. It's like winning the gold medal at the Olympics or something in some way. In some task has been completed successfully. And Hagalaz is a rune of disruption. So I was just not sure how that matched up. But again, like I said, maybe if I give it more time, it'll come to me why that correspondence has been made. But to me, it seems like it might be more associated with the Tower card or the Devil card. So things like that, to me, as a tarot reader and somebody who's been reading runes for many years, things like that are noticeable. But for you, if you don't know runes that much or at all, and you're just getting into tarot, it won't matter. So again, that's just a personal thing to take note of if you are aware of that. But if not, I wouldn't worry about it because, I was let down because that was one of the reasons I did want to get this deck. I thought it was going to be some amazing sort of connection between runes and tarot. I thought it was going to be some kind of new connection, kind of along the lines of, if you know the Golden Dawn astrological correspondences, which maybe they're not perfect, but they're extremely well thought out. I thought it was going to be that type of correspondence system. But another one was, for me, was just, again, it might not matter because I'm an experienced reader and most of the meanings of the cards are already well imprinted in my subconscious. I'm not saying I don't keep learning, because tarot is an art form. You can keep learning for your entire life and you still won't know everything. But I'm talking about just the basic meanings for doing divination and doing readings for clients. For example, here the Ace of Wands, the keywords, an initial spark, a new idea, creative insight. And the Ace of Swords says a very similar kind of meaning, a new idea, initial spark. So for me, I like to keep my keyword meanings separate and very clear on each card, so that when I do a reading, especially if somebody wants a predictive type reading, by that I don't mean carved in stone or anything, I just mean predictive. They want to know what the possible outcome is, and I'm doing that reading for them. I like to have specific meanings for each card that don't overlap, so that when I have the spread out, things really make sense for me and they aren't overlapping or blurring or getting foggy in that way. But that's, again, me, and you don't have to go exactly by the book here. You can just take what you like and what you don't like. My suggestion is, if you're just learning, start making your own keyword list. Don't add more than 2 or 3 for now, and add only the ones that resonate with you. And it was also a little bit confusing about how the numbered cards are named shields and the court cards in the same earth element suit are named pentacles, and they did it in the horns or water element suit as well, with the numbered cards being named horns and the court cards in that same suit being named cups then. But again, it takes an incredible amount of work to create a tarot deck, and obviously most of the focus went into the stunning artwork and the packaging, which is amazing. So, and it also works for divination. I did a couple of readings before I did this flip through and review, and the readings were accurate and I could understand them and make sense out of them. They were very good. So it's good for divination. Beautiful artwork. If some of the things I said don't matter to you, it won't matter. So that's it for my flip through and review. What are your thoughts on this Runic Tarot? Do you already have it, or are you considering purchasing it? If so, check out my links in the description box below. And remember to, because I have a link to where you can get this on Amazon, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and see you again in another video. Thank you so much for watching.